Greetings valued viewers. This is the Wacky Guardian coming at you with the most epic, extended synopsis yet of the pulse-pounding, sci-fi movie Interstellar by legendary Christopher Nolan. A group of elderly people are giving interviews about having lived in a climate of crop blight and constant dust reminiscent of the Great Depression of the 1930s. The first one seen is an elderly woman stating her father was a farmer but did not start out that way. The scene changes. We are introduced to a farmer and widower named Joe Cooper, Matthew McConaughey. He is a college-educated former NASA test pilot and engineer who was forced to give up his occupation to farm, living in a run-down farmhouse, presumably owned by his father-in-law. They farm corn, with wheat no longer available and okra just now having become extinct due to blight. We see no animal life. It is the 2060s in eastern Colorado. More than half of the world's population has been decimated from famine, and America has been reduced to a struggling agrarian society for the past 30 years. Technology has come to a standstill for the past 40 or so years, with automobiles no longer produced, and a computer laptop is a luxury item. However, on a positive note, there are no more wars or militaries in the world anymore. At a certain age, kids are tested to determine what occupations they will have to take to help humanity survive. In school, it is taught that the US going to the moon in 1969 was a hoax to drive the Soviet Union into bankruptcy and win the Cold War. Cooper's family consists of his 65-year-old father-in-law, Donald, John Lithgow, 15-year-old son Tom, Timothy Calumet, and 10-year-old daughter Merv, Mackenzie Foyt. Donald was born at the end of the 20th or beginning of the 21st century and fondly recalls times when technology was constantly changing and new gadgets being invented. He is a down-to-earth man who takes care of the household duties and gets along well with Cooper. The two of them sit on the porch drinking beer in the evening and philosophize about the condition of the world and how things should be. Joe's son Tom is a boy of average intelligence already being ruled out to be a farmer by the school administration, since a college education is now something only a very small percentage of those will enjoy the privilege of. His daughter Merv is a feisty and highly intelligent girl whom Cooper is very close to and who shares his affinity with space and science. She believes her room is haunted by a ghost because books keep falling off her shelves, and a lunar ship model was just knocked over. The Cooper family lives a pretty simple life and have a rare treat of attending a game of a supposedly Major League Baseball team at a local ball field similar to what the Little League plays on today. His father-in-law is unimpressed at the amateurishness of the players and having only popcorn for refreshments and no hot dogs. An approaching dust cloud interrupts the game, reminding them of the grim world they live in, and ends it prematurely. The Cooper family makes it back to the farmhouse during the dust storm, and Merv's bedroom did not have the window closed, and the dust settled into perfect lines on the floor. Cooper spends the entire night studying the lines, and Cooper thinks the lines are binary code and coordinates for a place he feels the need to find and uses a map. He spends the next day driving to the Rockies, and his daughter sneaks into the truck to come with him. Soon after arriving at his final destination, a fenced-off gated area, Cooper is apprehended and tasered into unconsciousness. When Cooper wakes up, he is in a room being interrogated by a strange-looking robot called TARS. It turns out Cooper is in the best-kept secret in the world, a bunker, and meets his old boss from NASA, an Englishman named Dr. John Brand, Michael Caine, plus his beautiful young daughter, Amelia Brand, Anne Hathaway. Nobody is convinced that Cooper just stumbled into the place by accident, and Dr. Brand believes a force brought Cooper there. The compound Cooper found is actually the remnants of NASA, inhabiting the facility in secret and no longer funded by the government because of the scarcity of resources. There is a space mission leaving soon to go through a wormhole of unknown origin near Saturn that will take them to 3 potentially habitable planets, 2 of them orbiting a supermassive black hole named Gargantua, a large black sphere about the size in diameter of Earth's sun but which has a solar mass of about 50 million Earth suns. 10 years earlier, 12 individual astronauts were sent out through the wormhole in 12 different ships, but only 3, Miller, Mann, and Edmonds, activated the thumbs-up beacon, all of whom are at 3 planets. At the moment, NASA has nobody to pilot the spacecraft, and at the last minute, they want Cooper to go, despite his family responsibilities. The bunker itself is actually a centrifuge, which is projected to become something else later on. The mission has 2 plans. Plan A is to get the centrifuge into orbit as a space station and rescue a large number of people. This requires Dr. Brand to solve the equation that will allow the scientists to overcome gravity and get the centrifuge into orbit. Plan B is to colonize the most habitable of the 3 planets along with a bunch of frozen embryos to repopulate the species. Dr. Brand assures Cooper the Earth is dying and humanity doesn't have much longer, and that he needs to pilot the craft and explore, lest his family and the rest of the world all die soon. Cooper is very reluctant because he's barely left Earth's atmosphere, but Brand reassures Cooper the 12 astronauts sent on the mission never even left the simulators beforehand. The next day, Cooper and Murph return to the farmhouse. His daughter is extremely upset with him for choosing the mission. That night Cooper and Donald are sitting on the porch drinking beer, and Cooper reminds Donald once again of the futility of staying and the conditions they live in. Donald assures Cooper he's doing the right thing but needs to set things right with Murph. The next morning, Cooper does his best to comfort a sobbing Murph and promises to come back to her and that they might even be the same age when he returns, giving her a wristwatch to compare time. Murph refuses his assurance and that her bookshelf is communicating with her in Morse code to stay. Despite her pleas, Cooper won't back down, and one more book falls down before he leaves, but Cooper disregards it. Cooper leaves and says goodbye to Tom and Donald, and while he's driving away, Murph storms out the front door wanting to see him one last time, but it's too late. The space shuttlecraft rockets away from Earth at high speed with Cooper, Amelia Brand, Dr. Doyle, Wes Bentley, Dr. Nikolai Romilly, David Gyasi, and the TARS and Case robots on board. Doyle and Romilly are 2 scientists that were in the conference room at NASA during the meeting with Cooper. When the spacecraft leaves the atmosphere, everything goes quiet all of a sudden, except the inside. The ring-shaped Endurance is up ahead, and they dock with it, which has all their needs for space travel. The Endurance is leaving Earth, and they bid farewell to a spinning Earth and have to look forward to the lonely, claustrophobic, and potentially dangerous reality of space and put themselves in a plastic-covered water cryosleep bed for the 2-year journey to Saturn. Dr. Brand makes a trip in Cooper's old 2010 Dodge Ram truck to deliver the vehicle back to the homestead and give a tape-recorded message from Cooper to his family. Murph appears hoping her father is home, but angrily storms back into the house. Donald tells Dr. Brand about how Murph is making fools out of her teachers, but Brand tells Donald maybe she'll eventually make a fool out of him. 2 years later, the Endurance is orbiting Saturn, and Cooper is out of cryosleep, reviewing video messages. His son Tom tells him he's doing okay, and Donald says hi, telling Cooper that Murph still refuses to talk to him. The Endurance crew come upon the Wormhole, which resembles a plasma globe and will provide a quick channel for the crew to reach the 3 planets in the next galaxy. The crew take off for the rough ride, a la 2001 Infinity, and come to their first mission, Miller's Planet. During the time through the wormhole, Amelia reaches out and feels she touched someone's hand. They find themselves in a region of space around 10 billion light-years from planet Earth. They decide to head first to Miller's Planet, intending to stop there only briefly as its close proximity to Gargantua causes severe gravitational time dilation with each hour spent on the surface costing 7 Earth years. Cooper, Amelia, Doyle, and the robot Case decide to risk themselves and intend to be in and out of there in just minutes to survey while Romilly remains on the Endurance to study the black hole and get quantum data from it. When they land, all they find is shallow water and wreckage of Miller's ship, who apparently died and had arrived just an hour or 2 earlier, even though she sent the thumbs-up beacon on Earth 10 years before. The crew think there are mountains in the distance that turn out to be giant tsunami waves. Brand becomes trapped under the Miller wreckage and has to be rescued and carried back by Case. Doyle is drowned, and the ship is flooded and won't be able to make it out for another hour, costing them years. Cooper is frustrated at Brand but forgives her mistake. After the engines are mostly emptied of water, Cooper fires them up and just manages to escape the next tidal wave and fly off the surface. Cooper and Brand make it back to the Endurance to find an aged and grey Romilly in a robe. 23 Earth years have passed, and Romilly has spent most of the time waiting with a couple of stretches in cryosleep. It is now about the year 2090 on Earth. They are all beyond crushed, but Brand is relieved to know her father is still alive and well. They are receiving messages from Earth, but unable to transmit out. Cooper reviews all the videos and breaks down looking at 23 years of recorded videos and sees before his very eyes his 17-year-old son Tom showing a picture of what he believes is the right girl for him. In the next video, Tom, now played by Casey Affleck, introduces to Cooper to his grandson Jesse. In the next video, a now weather-beaten and 40-year-old Tom reveals that Donald died a week ago and is buried next to Jesse, and that he believes Cooper to be missing or dead and needs to let him go. Then afterwards an apparent live recording comes from Murph, now played by Jessica Chastain. After 25 years of silence, a still stubborn and saddened Murph tells off her father for not fulfilling the possibility of being back because she is now 35 years of age, which is the same age he was when he left. It's like a knife has been plunged into his heart, and he feels he has betrayed her badly and has no way to communicate back with her. On Earth, Murph stops recording the video. She is now working for Dr. Brand and living in the NASA bunker, who is now about 90 years old and confined to a wheelchair. Brand is still trying to solve the incomplete gravity equation to get Plan A rolling and is reassuring Murph that the crew of the Endurance are receiving their recorded messages, but the crew can't transmit out. Now that the Endurance crew have recovered emotionally from Murph's video, they debate whether to visit Man's planet or Edmund's planet, because they only have enough fuel to visit one of them before they head back to Earth. Brand wants to visit Edmund's planet because his planet appears to be the better prospect, but Cooper wants to visit Man's because he's still transmitting his beacon. On Earth, Murph returns to the old Cooper homestead with her brother Tom, a farmer. He has just torched a third of his crop because of blight, which is spreading. He now has his old neighbor's crop to cultivate since the neighbor moved or died. They believe the farm will soon produce nothing. She has dinner of corn souffle and corn on the cob with Tom, his wife Lois, Leah Cairns, and son Coop. She discovers Coop has a bad cough. They want her to stay the night, but she refuses because of bad memories from her childhood. Murph is aware that the nitrogen levels in the air are taking their toll more and more each day on their son. A day or two later, Murph is back at the NASA bunker and learns Dr. Brand is dying. He confesses to her that Plan A is not possible and that he had lied to her. She believes her father knew all about Brand's scheme and that he escaped and purposefully left her and everyone else to die. Dr. Brand dies. Murph sends a video message to Amelia informing her of her father's death and begs him to tell the truth that the whole thing had been a sham. The Endurance crew make it to Man's planet a few months later. The planet is perpetually cold, covered with glaciers, and has a poisonous atmosphere of methane filled with ice clouds. Dr. Mann, Matt Damon, who has been in cryosleep for over 35 years, is awakened by Cooper and has a mental breakdown and relieved he is rescued. He tells the story of the frigid, but beautiful world he lives in, indicating it has 80% of Earth's gravity and a lower part is livable, possibly even a source of fresh water. Brand sees the video Murph sent about her father dying and Plan A being a sham. She is absolutely shocked and had no idea, but Mann reassures her the equation was actually solved long ago and determined to be impossible before he ever went on the mission. The only way to ever get data would be to get inside a black hole, which is impossible without being killed. Back on Earth, Murph and her boyfriend, Dr. Getty, Topher Grace, another NASA physicist, are driving in her Jeep through the bleak plains surveying the endless clouds of black smoke and families with their decrepit 80 to 90-year-old vehicles on the road with their belongings in tow, much like Midwestern farmers in the 1930s escaping to go west to find a better life. She knows the equation is solvable as long as it comes from a black hole and that Dr. Brand only gave part of it. Somewhere in her subconscious, she has a gut feeling that the coordinates of dust on the floor of her bedroom long ago gave her a hint, along with the books being pushed off. She knows it's not the end and that humanity is running out of time. Simultaneously, man is showing Cooper the icy and forbidding world. Murph is back at the Cooper homestead with Dr. Getty examining Tom's son for his lungs. Dr. Mann pulls off Cooper's voice beacon and pushes Cooper off the cliff. Murph's brother Tom is outraged by Dr. Getty's comment that they can't stay and will die, hitting him in the face. Mann reveals to Cooper that the planet is uninhabitable and that he sent the signal so he could take Cooper's spaceship to return to Earth. Murph confronts Tom that her father never meant to save them, but escape and leave it up to her. Tom outright refuses and tells her to leave, believing it's his duty to take care of the farm to fulfill his promise for his father. Mann is trying to kill Cooper by breaking his helmet's visor, allowing the ammonia-rich air to suffocate Cooper. Cooper manages to reach his voice beacon that was taken off of his helmet by Mann to call out for Brand to rescue him. Murph and Dr. Getty are driving back to NASA, but in a fit of rage, she pulls over and pours gasoline over corn crops and sets them on fire, in order to distract Tom and get back to the farmhouse. Cooper has been rescued by Brand. Mann's living quarters on the planet has exploded and Romilly killed. Romilly was killed because he was trying to retrieve data from Mann's robot Kip, which was booby-trapped and supposed to reveal the truth about the planet. Tars comes out of the rubble to be rescued by Cooper and Brand, and they leave the planet. On Earth, Tom's family is now out of the house, and Murph is now in her old bedroom trying to make sense of the past. Cooper and Brand are leaving the planet, but Mann is also in another shuttle trying to do so and refuses to listen to their pleas not to attempt to dock with the Endurance. Murph is in her bedroom examining her old belongings to find out what the ghost might be telling her. Dr. Getty is pleading with Murph to get out and for them to leave because the fire is out. Murph leaves the farmhouse with the watch in her hand and angry Tom returns, but she tells him about the watch, embraces him, assuring her father was the ghost all along and will save them. Tom is befuddled by it all but accepts her hug. Murph returns to the NASA bunker and completes the equation using the data from the wristwatch. She writes it all down and throws the papers off the deck of the centrifuge under construction that the equation is solved. She kisses Dr. Getty in a fit of happiness. So what's going to happen soon might save most of remaining humanity. Back in the black hole, the Tesseract is now closing up, with Cooper convinced it all worked, and Cooper is comforted that future human beings constructed it to make all this happen and tells Tars everything is okay. He comes across the Endurance when it passed through the wormhole and touches Brand's hand, then knocked unconscious into the orbit of Saturn with a couple of beaming lights approaching him. Cooper wakes up to find himself in a hospital bed. A very clean room with background noise of a baseball bat cracking a ball and birds chirping. A doctor tells him to take it easy, jokingly telling him he is now 124 years old, but he still looks the same in his mid to late 30s. The doctor tells Cooper he's very lucky to be alive because space rangers found him with only minutes left in his oxygen. Cooper looks outside the window of his room with kids playing baseball with a batter hitting a ball into the sky, which turns out to be the skylight of an upside-down house with kids cheering at the window being broken. Cooper is told he's on Cooper Station orbiting Saturn and thinks the station is named after him, but it was named after his daughter Merv. She's still living and on another space station and will be there to visit him in a couple of weeks despite her age and health. Cooper is delighted that Plan A did indeed work out and that the gravity equation was solved. The very centrifuge that was the NASA bunker is now a space station to sustain human life. Cooper is now released from his hospital room by a tour guide and shown the station, an O'Neill cylinder with the old world rural American environment and has artificial sunlight beaming from one side, which was the same place the rocket took off from 89 years ago. They pass by a group of sleek Ranger ships that are more efficient than what he used and he takes a great interest in them. He is led to a museum exhibit, which is his old farmhouse, only much cleaner and restored. There are videos all over the place of elderly people telling of the dust bowl they lived in, whom you saw at the beginning of the movie, one of which is his daughter. He finds a shorted out TARS in the farmhouse the Rangers recovered and immediately takes it. In the distance, Cooper sees something in the wheat field that catches his attention. It is Amelia Brand, in a museum exhibit which was the giant tesseract, along with the exploded endurance and debris field of the planets. He is amazed to see her and that she did survive and is 124 years old. She is in her own suspended animation chamber. When Murph arrives, the two Rangers explain that Cooper knows Brand and that she was inside the wormhole for a considerable amount of time, and he also explains that he is back on Earth and time had slowed considerably and she had been on the space station most of her life, and that Plan A worked. Cooper's emotional reunion with his daughter Murph is a tearful and joyful one, having him mourn the fact that he can never be with Amelia now that he's back on Earth. Cooper is now trying to fit into a world that is run by his daughter, and he can only look at his time with Brand on her space station knowing that she can be revived in her chamber after all these years. She is sad and regretful, but still has faith in what she is looking for and told him that they need to be brave like Brand was in order to make a better life, and is trying to save humanity like they did. Brand is the one that's saying goodbye this time. Murph still sees him as the ghost that left her, but is happy to have him back and is grateful to him for saving her. On one of the tours with the Rangers, you find a thriving green planet that resembles Earth and a large tree resembling the tree of life from a few light years away. Cooper is now playing catch with Murph, and they are getting on great. The two of them take the truck from the farmhouse, along with the old Chevy Impala they had parked in the garage. Murph is now the leader of Cooper Station, and you see what resembles the remains of humanity on a cleaner and beautiful Earth-like world. Please remember to completely demolish that like button, subscribe to the Wacky Guardian for more great content, and share this video with all your friends. Thank you for watching, see you next time.